Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Guten Morgen.
The producer, editor, director of True Noir, Robert Meyer Burnett, is here.
How are you all today?
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics that we have lined up for you guys, including, of course, the Oscar nominations have come out. And then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like to hear us address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, we'll answer it in the second part of the show. And here's the good news. This tip link is actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're listening to this show on our podcast feed, either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still use this tip link to fire in a question, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started with this, shall we? You know, Robert Eggers, leading into Nosferatu, I was really excited about Nosferatu because I really love Robert Eggers.
Yeah, me too.
I loved The Northman. Loved it. Loved Witch. I really enjoyed Lighthouse, even though I still don't know what the hell that movie was. I still had a good time with it. I'm going to be honest with you. Didn't love Nosferatu. I didn't love Nosferatu. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But I still think Robert Eggers is one of the edgiest, most atmospheric, you know, soaked kind of directors. I get excited. Well, now, according to Deadline, he's already got his next film lined up, and it's coming out next year. A Deadline has reported that Robert Eggers is reteaming with Focus Features for Werwulf, set for Christmas of 2026. They wrote the following. Robert Eggers is reteaming with Focus Features after the phenomenal success of Nosferatu, becoming the studio's second highest grossing movie stateside with $90.5 million, just behind Downton Abbey. And that is with the new genre movie, Werwulf, pick which he co-wrote with the Northman's Shorn, is getting a Christmas Day 2006 release in North America. All right, first of all, I love the fact that we're not having to wait 2 or 3 years to find out what Robert Eggers' next project is. I think this guy should be as prolific as possible. I really enjoy, like, again, I didn't love Nosferatu, but I love the atmosphere he creates. I mean, all the best things about Nosferatu to me was, you know, the tone of the film, the feel of the film. Like, he just soaks it in that kind of atmosphere. And I love what he does with that. I think he is one of the most singular, unique directors we have working today. And for him to go and do another film like this, like to go from Nosferatu to Werewolf, I think is pretty damn cool, even though we've had like 2 werewolf movies in the last couple of months. I think this is really great. Now, at some point, I say this about Tarantino and I say this about Christopher Nolan. At some point, Rob, I would love to see Robert Eggers get out of his sandbox, maybe do a rom-com. I mean, maybe not a rom-com, but, you know, something a little different for him. But
I would watch a Robert Eggers rom-com.
I would absolutely watch a Robert Eggers rom-com.
Like, it'll take place during the Black Death.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
you know, it's...
He's dying to talk to her. So, yeah, that could be the catchline. Anyway, Rob, you hear about this. What do you think about Robert Eggers in general as a director? And are you excited to hear about this werewolf movie?
Well, you know, when I saw Witch, I thought it was a masterpiece in terms of creating atmosphere and dread. Like, every shot in that movie made me feel anxious. And that's a real skill. And I have watched that movie a number of times, studied it. And I think I might have seen, did I see Lighthouse with you?
I can't remember.
I don't remember either, but
I don't remember a lot about that day. I just remember coming out of the theater kind of dazed and confused. Like, what did I just watch?
The same thing. And then the Northman was 90 degrees away from that. Kick ass.
Yeah, I love Northman.
You know, and I'm a huge fan of his. And like you, I thought Nosferatu was beautiful, incredibly well made, but I didn't find it as delicious as I found The Witch.
Right.
Live deliciously, as Black Phillip and The Witch would say. But I still think he's one of the great filmmakers of the new modern age. I mean, he's a new modern master. He's not going to make everything right. But you think about filmmakers that are really upping the game of what cinema can be. And it looks to me like here he does a vampire movie. Then if he does Werwulf, he's going to do a werewolf movie. Does that mean he's going to do Frankenstein and just remake in the Robert Eggers way the old Universal classic monsters?
I'd see it.
I would too. I'm like, do the Creature from the Black Lagoon, do the Invisible Man, and do Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. What's the modern version of that? What is the Robert Eggers version of that? Or Bride of Frankenstein? That's his rom-com. That's his rom-com.
Oh my
Bride
God.
of Frankenstein.
You know, it's funny because we were talking about atmosphere. I think legitimately one of the biggest sense of creepiness and unsettledness I've ever felt in a movie theater was a scene in a movie that you don't even see what's happening. It's near the end of The Witch. That moment with Black Phillip, when off screen, all you see is Anya Taylor-Joy's face. And off screen, like, there hasn't been a talking goat this whole thing. And then off screen, all you hear is, "What dost thou want?" I'm just remembering it. I'm getting chills. Like that sent chills down my spine. It's like, oh, the fucking goat talks. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That freaked me. And then remember her line, the way she, "What dost thou offer?" It's like, oh my God, this movie's so good.
So good.
I love that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We don't have to wait long. Nosferatu's still in theaters. And now we know when Robert Eggers' next film is coming out. It's like next year. Granted, it's kind of like 2 years away, but it's in 2026. And it's a werewolf movie. What do you think about that? Are you excited to see it? Do you think he maybe should do other types of things? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, an actor out there who everybody loves. He's dynamic. He's great whenever he pops up on screen. He's in a couple of very popular things. And yet for some reason, John Bernthal has not really been able to crack that glass ceiling into like A-list status but I mean, he's got the looks, he's got the talent, he's got the projects
The
that
intensity.
he's got all the tools, but for one reason or another, he's never really broken into that A-list status. Well, he's about to join the company of a lot of A-list, including with the director. As it's now been announced, this comes us from Deadline. John Bernthal has joined Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. This comes to us again from Deadline, who wrote the following. Christopher Nolan's adaptation of The Odyssey is adding to its already stellar cast, as sources tell Deadline that Emmy winner John Bernthal is boarding the film. He joins a cast that includes, get this, Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, and Charlize Theron. Last month, Universal revealed that Nolan's follow-up to his Oscar-winning Oppenheimer would be an adaptation of the epic poem composed by Homer around the 8th century BCE. You know, when you think this cast can't get any more stacked, then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we're adding John Bernthal. And by the way, good for John Bernthal to get added to this, because like now he's joining a movie with multiple Academy Award winners, probably the most prestige director working today. I mean, this is really good for him. And again, I don't know, Rob, if this will be the catalyst that moves John Bernthal into like A-list status. I mean, he was in the incredibly popular Daredevil. He got his own spin-off series, which everybody loved. Of course, he was an early member of the Walking Dead family. He was great in Mystic River. And what was the Matt Damon car racing one again?
Ford v Ferrari.
Ford v Ferrari. I thought he was, I mean, not a huge role,
but great in it.
I mean, that's him in everything. And I cannot wait to see him in The Accountant too. I'm very stoked about that. So I don't know if this will be the one that propel him, but hey, you know what? Working with Christopher Nolan got Oppenheimer boy his Oscar last year.
Oppenheimer boy.
And you know, I always feel that Christopher Nolan, especially like with Oppenheimer, he's hand picking these cast members. Like,
yeah,
you know, and you saw like when William Devane showed up just in the background in Dark Knight, you know, Rises. I was like, obviously he saw the Missiles of October in the 70s, so he wanted to get him or something. I mean, he's always got the best cast. He's got a great eye for cast, so he must have something special ready for John to do.
And listen, and Nolan is one of these of many directors who kind of likes going back and working with actors that he has a shorthand with, right? He's worked with Anne Hathaway. He's worked with Matt Damon. He's worked with like several people on the cast. And hopefully this is going to be one of those things where Bernthal can now join that.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see Bernthal in future Christopher Nolan movies. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? John Bernthal is now joined the new Christopher Nolan film. And is this going to be the thing that moves him up maybe into that A-list tier status? He deserves to be there. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? You know, recently, George Clooney and Brad Pitt, I think it was when they were promoting their, what's the name of the movie? Wolves. By the way, Wolves is a good movie.
I like
Why they dropped that straight to streaming, I have no idea, which, by the way, by taking and dropping to streaming, John Watts is now the latest director, said, well, I'll never work with them again. The director of the film, John Watts, who, of course, directed the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies and is the showrunner for Skeleton Crew, he just came out and said, yeah, I'm not going to work with Apple again on that.
I mean, it was a theatrical release until like a week before it opened.
Yeah, and then they made that anyway. The movie was really good, but while promoting that film, Clooney and Pitt were asked a lot about maybe the future of a potential another Oceans movie. And little hints have been being dropped for a few months that they might be looking at doing another Oceans movie. Well, now it looks like they are moving fast, as it's being reported that David Leitch is in talks to direct Oceans 14 for Warner Brothers. This comes to us from Variety, who wrote, the Fall Guy and Bullet Train filmmaker, oh, and by the way, Deadpool 2 filmmaker as well. Dave is in talks to direct Oceans 14 for Warner Brothers. George Clooney's Smokehouse banner is behind the 4th film in the Ocean's 11 franchise, so it's expected the star will return alongside Brad Pitt, who collaborated with Leitch on Bullet Train. Now, there has kind of also been a lot of speculation that we may get an Ocean's 13 ever since that Cate Blanchett Oceans movie they did a little while ago. Because remember, Sandra Bullock is supposed to be Danny, George Clooney's sister. And like, Danny is supposed to be dead, but they raise the question. She's sitting at the mortuary and is like, you better actually be dead. And of course, that was kind of the hint to everybody that he's not. We're probably going to get another one. Look, I have always been a sucker for heist movies. I love a good heist movie. The Italian Job, the Ocean's Jobs. What was the name of that Jason Statham one?
The bank heist?
The bank something or the
job.
Yeah, something like that. It might have just been the bank job. That might have been it. I mean,
Inside Man that Spike Lee directed with Clive Owen.
Inside Man. I love all these heist films, right? And I continue to this day to be a consummate admirer of George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and their work. And listen, I think David, did he not also direct Atomic Blonde? I think he also directed Atomic Blonde.
You might be right about that.
So like, I love his directorial style. I loved Fall Guy. Straight up, I loved that movie. I thought,
You're right.
Don't know what he did do Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
I don't know why Fall Guy completely flopped the way it did, but I love that movie. I love his sensibility. Sign me up. So bring a little bit more action. So give us the great heist stuff of an Ocean's film and bring a director like David to give a little bit more action to it. I think this is a match made in heaven.
I didn't realize he did Hobbs and Shaw also.
That's right. And I really liked Hobbs and Shaw. I thought that's one of probably the best Fast and Furious movie we've had in the last number of years. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about the possibility of, by the way, our friend Jeff Snyder is the one who broke this story that Variety's picked it up from. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about this?
Well, first of all, I love the Oceans movies. I mean, 12, not so much, but I really, the first one, Oceans 11 is great. And Oceans 13 is really good too. I just hope, because, you know, those 3 movies were all directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it's the character interplay that I love.
Yeah.
The heists are good, but the character interplay, it's like that meme you say, do you think we need one more guy? And I think we need one more guy. You know, I don't know, is that too much? Those films are so watchable because of the character stuff. I just hope they don't go too over the top. But I got to say, I love Bullet Train.
Oh, that movie's so
Bullet Train. I did buy the disc, John, the physical media.
Of course you did.
And I've watched it probably more than I care to admit. It's so much fun. It's so well done. I mean, and Aaron Taylor Johnson's a hoot. All the Bad Bunny, everybody in that movie's a hoot. And if they could combine Bullet Train with an Ocean's movie,
I think it's gonna have that vibe.
bring it on, because it's great.
Yeah.
It's a very early 2000s Guy Ritchie feeling kind of film, right? Bullet Train.
A little bit of that, a little bit of Smoking Aces.
Yeah, a little bit of that in there. I mean, and listen, I wish they didn't die because the Aaron Taylor Johnson, or Ricky Tiki Taki as we call him around here, and Brian Tyree Hill, or Brian Tyree Henry, I should say. I wish they didn't die in the movie because
Right.
their chemistry and their dynamic together, I would completely watch a spin-off film of theirs.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, who's the 14th member of the team? If you could cast another actor, and I'm going to give you one. Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, I love that. That's not where I was going to go.
Ryan Reynolds is the 14th.
He had
member
Brad
of the team.
Pitt as the Invisible Boy in his movie. I that's not who I was going to say, but I like that one a
As
lot.
long as they rein him in, he can't be too.
He can't be too
Deadpool.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, but to bring him in, because I think I would love to just watch him bounce off of Clooney and Pitt and Matt Damon and all the guys.
Oh my God, that would be so good. The guy I was going to go with was Paul Walter Hauser. No, I'm kidding. Who just seems to be in everything. I was actually going to say, you look at Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Matt Damon. I was going to say Leonardo DiCaprio.
That would be good too.
Yeah, you throw Leonardo DiCaprio in there and you create that, what's the word, that quartet?
Maybe if he was I could see Leo as the foil.
Maybe.
And that's another thing. The villain, I mean, they had Pacino in 3 and Andy Garcia
I
in
could
1.
see him as like some kind of like brokerage
who you get as
firm.
the
owner,
foil? Christoph Waltz. You get Christoph Waltz as the foil to Danny Ocean's crew. That would be pretty good.
Yeah.
As somebody in the live chat is Francois saying a Robert Downey Jr. would fit in really well with this thing
he would.
too.
Or he'd be a great villain.
He would also be a great villain.
I'm excited, man.
Michael Shannon like bouncing off of them. Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea.
I will catch you.
They got to bring back Elliot Gould too. I love Elliot Gould in the first one.
Good Canadian kid, Elliot Gould.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now get in the goddamn house. I love
That's a great Elliot Gould.
You know what the worst thing they ever did in the Ocean's movies, though? Like the worst? When they kind of broke the fourth wall and Julia Roberts just so happens to be an exact lookalike of Julia Roberts. And that whole thing was like, no, this does not work. But anyway, that aside, I'm excited for this. I think David Leitch would be a great fit for this. I love thinking about what he could bring to this. And listen, Pitt and Clooney, if you haven't seen Wolves yet, chemistry-wise, they still got it, man. They were great together in that. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got a couple of other things we got to talk about, including start shining up the Emmys because the response to Star Trek Section 31 looks like it's going to win all the awards.
Yes.
Or maybe not. Also, the Oscar nominations are out. Today is the second biggest day of the movie year. Of course, the Oscars themselves are the biggest day. We're going to go over the Oscar nominations list, the surprises, the snubs, all that. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends over at PrizePicks. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Are you guys like me, both a movie and a sports fan? Well, if so, then you know that the playoffs are here and it's now or never. If you love football and want to add some real excitement to the games, let me tell you about PrizePicks, the best place for your daily fantasy sports. So here's how it works. It's super simple. You just pick more or less on player projections. Think Patrick Mahomes will throw more than 1.5 touchdowns this week, or maybe Lamar Jackson will get over 250 passing yards. Make your picks in less than a minute and take your shot at winning up to 1,000 times your cash. Ann and I have been having a blast using PrizePicks every weekend. It's simple, it's fun, and it just makes watching the games that much more exciting. Plus, PrizePicks puts you first. With easy, fast, secure withdrawals, you can get your winnings in as little as 15 minutes, and they make deposits even easier. And right now, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So don't wait. Download the app today and use the code Campea to get $50 instantly after playing your first $5 lineup. That's right. Play for just $5 and you get a $50 bonus instantly. PrizePicks. Run your game. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, the world of Star Trek the last bunch of years has been a mixed bag, right? You've had certain things that have been, I personally think, incredible, like Strange New Worlds. I love that show. You get some things that have been kind of iffy and whatever. But, you know, one of the things and one of the characters that I have really liked in this new kind of Star Trek world is the character of Philippa Georgiou, played by Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh. And the extension mirror universe version of her, Emperor Georgiou. I really like the character. So when they announced that they were going to be doing Star Trek Section 31 with Michelle Yeoh, I thought, all right, okay, great. I take advantage of her Oscar win. How bad can it be? One of my favorite actresses to be in this show. Then the trailer dropped somewhere around Comic-Con. I think that's when they dropped the trailer for it. I was like, huh, that looks like something. I didn't love it, but, you know, I told myself, hey, I didn't like the trailers for Harley Quinn and a lot of other things either, and it turned out to be okay. Well, the first reviews for Star Trek Section 31 are now out, and ladies and gentlemen, they are not good. The folks over at Engadget wrote Star Trek Section 31 review, an embarrassment from start to end. It's unwatchably bad.
I must watch it now.
They write, get enough Star Trek fans in a room and the conversation inevitably turns towards which of the series' cinematic outings is the worst. The consensus view is The Final Frontier, Insurrection, and Nemesis are ducking it out for the unwanted trophy. Each film has a small legion of fans who will defend each entry's campy excesses, boldness, and tone. I'm partial to watching The Final Frontier every 5 years or so, so mostly to luxuriate the Jerry Goldsmith score. Thankfully, any and all such discussions will cease once and for all on January 24th when Star Trek Section 31 debuts on Paramount Plus. It is the single worst thing to carry the Star Trek name in living memory. Right. And it ain't just them. Oh no. If we go over and just do a quick little Google search of Star Trek Section 31 reviews, Star Trek Section 31 review, blandly going where no one should go. Of course, the Engadget one. Slash Film kind of liked it, but even there was like Star Trek Section 31 review. This Discovery spin-off film is a B-movie trash in a good way. Really? Star Trek Section 31 review, a disappointing Star Trek tale. Star Trek Section 31 isn't classic Trek, but the Paramount Plus executives offer some flashy fun. All right, now The Verge liked it. They said Star Trek Section 31 is firing on all cylinders. All right.
Who is that?
I'm not sure.
Who wrote that?
Hollywood Reporter said, Star Trek Section 31 review, not even Michelle Yeoh can save Paramount Plus's subpar spin-off movie. I love the New York Times article.
Best.
Star Trek Section 31 review, set phasers to shun.
That's great.
But it goes on.
Oh.
Empire writes Star Trek Section 31 review, a bland comedy space capade.
Yeah.
Star Trek Section 31, set your expectations on stunned, but not in a good way. Oh my God. Section 31, the single worst Star Trek thing ever. Star Trek Section 31, a disappointing Star Trek tale. Anyway, it goes on. Not good. And here's the thing, you know, Rob and I were talking before the show started, because here's the thing that's most interesting to me. There are going to be some people that will want to jump to, because this happens all the time, saying, well, these are just people who hate Star Trek. And these are just people who, you know, just automatically hate Star Trek. No, I did some cross-referencing. Most of these outlets and many of these specific writers love Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Gush about it. Lest you forget, for right or for wrong, for fair or unfair, for whatever reason, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is the highest critically rated Star Trek series ever in history. So this isn't just like a group of people that just hate Star Trek. These are people who are open-minded to it. And they saw this and said, this is gutter trash. And it looks like, Rob, and listen, I have not seen it myself. I'm not going to watch it until tomorrow when it drops. I cannot myself say that I know that the movie sucks because I haven't seen it yet. But it seems like the general consensus is that this is really quite bad. And, I read one article that kind of suggested that they just decided to get moving on it a little sooner than they were ready because
the script was written.
Yeah, because they wanted to take advantage, and I get this. They want to take advantage of the momentum of Michelle Yeoh's Oscar win. I get that, but like we say in the show all the time, characters are there to serve the story. You don't rush a story just so you can take advantage of an actor's popularity at the moment. And this is the result you get, apparently. Anyway, Rob, I'm not going to bother asking you if you're surprised to hear these reactions because clearly you're not. But what do you think about what we're hearing?
Before I say anything, I would just want to ask permission to address this particular subject matter in this room. I just want to make sure because you've forbidden me on numbers of occasions.
That's why, when it was off topic, this is the Star Trek topic that I wanted to make sure we had today.
I was telling Rob, you haven't been here in 6 months and we haven't covered so much as one Star Trek.
Star Trek,
and you come back for the second day. Star Trek.
First of all, let me just say I won't go off. I'm saving this explosion for later. But one of the things that has always perplexed me about modern Star Trek is how so many concepts that were introduced in the show have been misunderstood by the writers of modern Star Trek. And I don't think anyone has been more misunderstood than Section 31. Section 31 was introduced in a latter season Deep Space Nine episode called Inquisition. And William Sadler, played Sloan. Section 31 was one guy. And he would show up and give Julian Bashir a mission and then disappear. So you never knew what was going on. In Discovery, Section 31 had a base. It had literally membership cards. It had special Delta shields on their clothing. You knew they had headquarters and ships. And when there was somebody from Section 31, people were like, look, there goes somebody from Section 31 walking by. They ruined they decided Section 31 was like the FBI, probably because someone thought they wanted to do a series, which they do. This is kind of their retconned. I think it was the first 2 pilot episode scripts that they mashed together into a movie. Everything about this shows just how brain dead the people that currently control Star Trek actually are. And now this is as far as I'm going to go. The fact that Paramount has allowed this franchise to be so mismanaged since 2017 says to me everything. You know what, John? This is a perfect encapsulation of everything wrong with the modern age. Everything wrong with the 21st century is encapsulated, I would imagine, in these 90 minutes that I haven't seen yet. But I felt that way when I saw the trailer. And I love Michelle Yeoh as a Bond girl. She's amazing. I mean, she's worked with Jackie Chan. She's incredible. And the fact that they've done this to her after she won an Oscar, it's inexcusable. Inexcusable.
And didn't they pick up on maybe it was a different organization, but I remember Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, Section 31 was in...
They kind of expanded that, the whole idea of Section 31
which
there.
I didn't even like it in Enterprise, but it's not
egregious. I didn't
egregious.
either, really.
It's not egregious. But it's not Mission Impossible. It's not Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess it is now. Because that's all these writers know how to do. It's like, if they're not writing something like Joss Whedon, then they're just ripping off stuff from everybody else. There's no originality here. They could have done something really original. And they don't even address, apparently, the fact that she's a cannibal Hitler from a mirror universe, and they've turned her into
she's reformed, Rob.
Wisecracking bad bitch. Yeah. Oh, dude, I don't know. I think I would rather have my fingers and toes. I'd love to have my nails removed individually with somebody with a pair of rusty pliers than watch this tomorrow night. But I'm gonna have to watch this tomorrow night.
It's gonna pair nicely with Severance.
No, you don't have to watch it. Well, you have to give it a shot.
I do.
But then once you decide, if you decide,
10 of my favorite tequila.
There you go.
But if you decide you don't like it, you should do what I do and tap out.
I can't. I can't
quit you.
Stuff.
I have to be, you know what? If I ever needed something to feel better about myself and my opinions and ideas, it's going to be this show. I think for the rest of my life, if I'm feeling down, I can say, you know what? My life might be terrible, but at least I wasn't involved in any way, shape, or form with the making of Star Trek Section 31.
This could be the Craven of
Those will be his dying
Star Trek
words.
universe. Yeah, and again,
On my tombstone, it's going to say, "Here lies Robert Meyer Burnett. He had nothing to do with
Star
Section
Trek Section
31."
31. The disappointing thing to me, besides the fact that I really like the character, because Discovery, to me, had its good moments, had its bad moments, had its decent seasons, had its horrible seasons, but Philippa Georgiou was a character I really liked, and so there's disappointment there. The other disappointment hearing this, and again, I may watch it and like it, but it doesn't sound like I will. The other disappointment is this is the first live action series they're following up Strange New Worlds with. And again, not everybody agrees, but I loved that show. And I was really kind of hoping that momentum would carry over into this. But again, the trailer just it didn't, Rob, you'll often say that some of the modern Star Trek doesn't even look or feel like Star Trek anymore. I will sometimes disagree with you on that. But this didn't look or feel anything like Star Trek. I think your analogy of Guardians of the Galaxy is that it felt more like I think you're right about that. It felt more like Guardians of the Galaxy than a Star Trek thing.
Because they don't know how to write Star Trek anymore. They don't know how to write. Nobody knows how to write an optimistic future. It's all got to be dystopian. It's all got to be this hipster, holier, I don't know what. They just, and watching this, it doesn't bode well for their new Starfleet Academy show either. I mean, if they told me that they were making a Star Trek Academy show like Dead Poets Society, or something like that, where you had the main character was the professor, like in Dead Poets Society, that inspires his students, and I would be like, that's a Star Trek show I'd watch.
A mighty yop.
Yeah, again, so for now, I'm just going to wait for the next season of Strange New Worlds and kind of look forward to that. I'll check this one out, though, when it comes out. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about the reviews for Star Trek Section 31? I'm not totally surprised. I'm surprised how negative they are, but I'm not really surprised after seeing the trailers that it's negative. Anyway, whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. It is the second biggest day in the movie calendar of the year. Oscar nominations came out this morning. Some surprises, some snubs, some very worthy nominations. Let's start off by talking about the overall rundown. Emilia Perez leads the way with 13 nominations. Let me get this out of the way. Is this a joke? Is this a joke? This isn't a good movie. All film is subjective, and if somebody else watched it and liked it, more power to you. I mean, I'm not trying to suggest that my opinion on this is the only one that should be counted. I'm just saying I do not get this. I'm not saying this is a horrible movie. This isn't Craven. This isn't Madam Web. This isn't a horrible movie. It's not, but it's not a particularly good movie. It's a movie that touches on a lot of big, important themes and subject matter, but that doesn't make it good. You still have to do something good around it. There are better movies that have been out this year that touch on these important themes and subject matters. This is not a well put together film. And the fact that it has 13 nominations is amazing to me. Beyond that, The Brutalist, 10 nominations. Wicked, 10 nominations. Complete Unknown, 8. Conclave, 8. Anora, 6. And Dune Part 2 and The Substance share 5. Nosferatu got 4 as well, by the way. So let's go over some of the categories. I'm not going to touch on all of them because, frankly, I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't care about all of them. But we're going to touch on a bunch of them here. We're going to start off one, obviously, because I used to work in visual effects. Special place in my heart. The films that ended up getting the visual effects nominations are Alien Romulus, Better Man, which, by the way, I watched a 6-minute clip of Better Man. Totally deserves this nomination.
Yeah.
it may have been a bad concept for the movie that totally alienated everybody, so nobody went to go see it. It's one of the biggest flops in cinematic history. But man, I'll tell you what, that CGI digital motion capture monkey was freaking Planet of the Apes level. It looked I could not believe the visual effects feat that they
canonically, I think A Better Man fits right in to the.
It should be
Planet
totally
of
the
the
prequel, The Planet of the Apes.
Totally.
Dune Part 2 got nominated. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes got nominated, and Wicked got nominated. I'm actually a little surprised that Deadpool and Wolverine didn't get nominated. I thought they had some really good visual effects in that film, but whatever. And there's a few others that didn't get. Also, I honestly thought Godzilla X Kong, I should say, had a shot at getting one of the nominations as well. So if any of you guys have some others that you think are weird for missing on this, I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes should take this. Like, you watch that movie, it's practically flawless in its visual effects presentation. Who do you think let me rephrase that. Who do you think should win? Who do you think will win?
I think Dune 2 is going to win, but I think you're right. I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. There's a special feature on the disc, and they have the movie without any visual effects in it.
Really?
So, yeah, it's one of the greatest special features ever done. Shout out to Steve Asbell at 20th Century Studios. You can watch the movie with everybody in motion capture, and it's astonishing when you watch it and you realize what they can do with this technology. It's amazing. But I would say that it's just the culmination of what's possible. I'm not surprised by it. Whereas I do think that Denis Villeneuve's Dune movies, my favorite word, verisimilitude, they shot those movies on Arrakis.
Yeah.
They did. And they with Dune 2, they just upped the ante. When they did things like shooting Giedi Prime with no color, and there's just so much cool stuff in there. So I think Dune 2, but they might say, well, we gave it, Dune 1. I don't know.
I was kind of thinking that too. I think they're like, well, it looked a lot like Dune 1. So
yeah.
They kind of did the inverse of what they did with Lord of the Rings, where they kind of ignored Lord of the Rings until Return of the King.
Yeah.
They're like, let's front load this and then let it coast.
You're right.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to point out, there is a misunderstanding here. Roberto Borks in the live chat is saying it's not the better visual effects, it's the best picture with visual effects. No, it's not. That's not it at all. The visual effects branch of the Academy doesn't care how good or bad the movie is. Mm-hmm. The visual effects branch of the Academy, which is made up of all visual effects professionals, they are just looking at which was the best accomplishment in visual effects. Mm-hmm. Period. They don't care how good or bad the overall movie is. It's just that, and then they create the nominations list that then the whole Academy votes on. So anyway, I would love it if Dune 2 won. I think it's going to go to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but we'll see. All right. Next up, we've got Best Costume Design. Of course, we have a show here on the channel known as Designing Hollywood, often hosted by our own Robert Meyer Burnett. It's a huge deal. So the nominees for costume design are A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. This is one of those categories where I will have no qualms with whoever they announce as the winner. The costuming in all of these things. I still haven't seen A Complete Unknown, so I'll put that aside. But just from what I've seen in the previews and the CinemaCon presentation and all that kind of stuff, it looks so period accurate. It looks incredible. But Conclave, Gladiator, Nosferatu, Wicked, I love all of these.
I do want to point out that 3 of those people have recent shows on this channel.
On Designing Hollywood.
I mean, David Crossman and Janty Yates. The Gladiator, if I do say so myself, the Gladiator show we did was epic. And because there's 2 different costume designers. Crossman did all the armor, did all like the Roman armor, which was exquisite. And then Janty Yates did all like Denzel's outfits and stuff. So I think that these are all of them are very, very worthy.
Yes, but if I got to do the will win, should win, again, I love all these. I'm not going to be surprised if any of them win, and I'm perfectly fine with any of them winning. I'm going to say Wicked probably will, and probably should. The costumes in Wicked are so creative and imaginative. And also, I know. What do you think?
I think you're probably right. And Paul Tazwell, who did those costumes, the guy's amazing. He's also been on Designing Hollywood, and I think we're doing a show with him with Wicked. I think I won't be hosting that one, but he's an amazing guy. But those costumes were like old school Hollywood glamour.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
whole movie was like golden age Hollywood.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah, it really was. But then again, I mean, Denzel's outfits in Gladiator 2, man, those were some banger costumes.
They all looked great, but I think they're going to go with Wicked on this.
Yeah.
All right, we move on now to cinematography. I know one of Rob's favorite categories. The nominees are The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu. I mean, I'm not just being a home run. I really do think it should be Dune Part 2. By the way, the cinematography in The Brutalist is breathtaking.
It's breathtaking. It is.
So beautiful. But I think this is going to be one. I'm going to go both will and should. I will go with Dune Part 2.
You know, it's a tough one. By the way, also, I interviewed Greg Fraser, the cinematographer for Dune 2, on this channel as well.
Yeah.
So, I think you're probably right. I mean, again, what they did, you know, shooting, I think, whether it was Ultraviolet or the stuff on Gidi Prime where it goes almost black and white, and they did such amazing. It's tough, but then this is a great category. The Brutalist, 70 millimeter. I mean, it's incredible too.
All right. Next category, editing. The nominees are Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. This is going to be the first category where my will and should are going to be different. I think will win is Wicked. I think that's going to win. And by the way, the editing in Wicked is spectacular. Particularly when you look at that dance scene where they go to the student party, the editing and the shot selections and all that kind of stuff. It's a beautifully edited film. But I'll tell you what I think should win. Honora.
100%.
The way they use their cuts and their edits to enhance the emotions and everything that's going on in the scene. Rob, there's that old saying that you shoot the movie on set, you make the movie in the edit room. I really feel like Honora is a perfect example of that. But again, these are all wonderfully edited films, especially Conclave too. But I think it's going to be Wicked, but I would personally vote Honora.
I'm 100% with you, and I love the fact that director Sean Baker edited the film himself. And I totally relate to that.
And nominated for it.
Yeah. But I do think Wicked's going to win. You look at Wicked, I mean, it's so beautifully made on every level.
All right.
It just moves like a gunshot.
I would normally skip over this, but this is a point of contention for a lot of people. Best documentary. The nominees are Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, The Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. By the way, Porcelain War is fantastic. I have not seen most of these documentaries.
This is the first year I haven't seen any.
I've only seen one on it. Now, the reason though I bring this up is because a lot of eyebrows got raised when one name did not appear on this list.
Oh,
Superman.
yeah.
The Christopher Reeve story. That got a lot of people upset. Now, here's why I am personally can't be bothered that Superman didn't make the list. The reason I can't be bothered by the fact that it got snubbed, or even call it a snub, is because I have not seen Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. I have not seen Sugarcane. I have not seen No Other Land, and I've not seen The Black Box Diaries. I've only seen Porcelain War, and it's amazing. So I am not in a position that I can say Superman deserved the spot above these. Superman is phenomenal. It's moving and just, it's so good. But, and I challenged some of our viewers in the live chat before the live show started, because a bunch of people, this is a Superman snub. I was like, but did you see any of these documentaries? Because I'm willing to bet real money that you have not seen these. So we can't say it got snubbed if we have not seen the other films to say that Superman deserved it above those. But again, Rob, it's raising a lot of eyebrows that it didn't get nominated. I've only seen one of these films. Did were you able to catch any of these?
The only other one the only one I've seen is Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and I've seen it because Kino Lorber, who sends me discs to review, sent me that movie, and I didn't know what it was because they sent me that with the Chet Baker documentary Let's Get Lost.
Right.
And I thought it was contemporary to that or something, and I didn't realize it was a new movie, and I think it's terrific. And you go, Kino Lorber.
All right. By the way, I have to address this as quickly. Somebody in the live chat is saying the Academy is all politics now. It doesn't have the same worth. No, your politics. It's only when people don't like what got nominated or not that they bring their politics into it. It's not politics. It's just you're making it politics because it wasn't what you wanted. But anyway, let's move on to the next category here. Best animated feature. Flow. Inside Out 2. Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. Now, this is clearly a 2-horse race. It's Flow and it's The Wild Robot. Flow is very good. I don't think it's the same movie that Wild Robot is. I just think Wild Robot is the superior film. I was so blown away by how effective and beautiful and everything about The Wild Robot made me laugh. It made me smile. It made my heart smile. It also made me sad. And like, it's a beautiful, beautiful film. Flow has gotten a lot of momentum, Rob, during the awards season. I still think The Wild Robot should win it. I have a feeling Flow will. So I'm going to go will is Flow, should is The Wild Robot. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Flow. I didn't know anything about Flow really, but looking into it, I really want to see it. But bro, I gotta say, Wallace and Gromit, dude. I know it's not gonna win.
It was really good,
but I love Wallace and Gromit. Get cracking, you know. The fact that they brought Vengeance Most Foul, the fact that they brought him back, man, I love Wallace and Gromit. But you know,
that's it. One of the hardest laughs I had in any animated film this year was in Wild Robot when the possum mom, like you just hear, they're very brutal about nature, right? And here when everybody goes, as the predator came around, it's like, oh, 6 kids or whatever. And then like
they were so cute.
A few moments later, I'm okay, Mom. And then the mom is like, yay. like I'm like, oh my God. Like I laugh so hard. Wild Robot is so special. Anyway, so there's that. All right, let's move on now to Best International Feature, which by the way, this is the first time I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, and guys in the live chat, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time I remember that 2 films in the international feature are also nominated for Best Picture. Anyway, the nominees for Best International Feature are I'm Still Here, The Girl with the Needle, Emilia Perez, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, Flow, which also is nominated for Best Animated. I think now, for the record, I have not seen The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and I have not seen The Girl with the Needle. Okay, so just to be clear. So with that understanding, I think I'm Still Here. I mean, I'm Still Here is really good. It's strong. It's got great flow. It's definitely better than Emilia Perez, in my opinion. And I think it's better than Flow. I would give it to I'm Still Here, but it seems, Rob, like all the momentum is for Emilia Perez, so Emilia Perez is probably going to take it.
Yeah, it probably will.
Yeah, but then if it takes Best Foreign Film, does it even have a shot at Best Film?
I don't. That would be interesting.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If it doesn't win Best Foreign Film, then it has no chance at Best Picture, right? If you can, because you can't say I'm Still Here is the best foreign film over Emilia Perez, because now you just said, as the Academy, you said, I'm Still Here's the better film. Well, then you can't have Emilia Perez then win Best Picture if you've already said that I'm Still Here is better than it, right? So if it wins Best International Feature, it doesn't mean it will win Best Picture at all. But if it doesn't win Best International Feature earlier in the evening, you can scratch it off the card immediately for it winning Best Picture later on. So it'll be interesting to keep our eyes on that, see how that works out. All right, now we get into the screenplays. The nominees for Best Original Screenplay are Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, which, by the way, the script for that is excellent. September 5, and The Substance. I listen, I like The Substance very much. I don't know that it deserved a best screenplay thing. To me, all due respect to the other great screenplays, Honora's script is impeccable.
Yeah.
It's an impeccable script. So I would say will win is The Brutalist. It's got the momentum. I think should win is Honora. Are you starting to catch a theme that I really liked Honora?
Dude,
Anyway,
I loved Honora.
isn't this so good?
Loved it.
Anyway, who do you see winning and who do you think should win?
You know, I think The Brutalist is probably going to win, but I'll tell you something. I think A Real Pain has a shot. I think it has
definitely
a shot.
does. 100%
And the fact, I love the fact that, you know, I like when actors become multi-hyphenates. You know, and Jesse Eisenberg, auteur, wrote and directed that movie.
Good for him.
And I think that he's a guy, I mean, I've always liked him. Ever since The Social Network, I've been a huge fan of his. I think he could take it because it's such a personal script. And there is so much emotion in it. And the dialogue was great.
Yeah.
And Kieran Culkin was great.
By the way, I can't remember which of the award shows it was, but Kieran Culkin won for A Real Pain.
Yeah.
And he gave a really nice tribute to Eisenberg while he was doing it too. So anyway, I agree with you. I think it's got a shot, but I think it's ultimately going to be The Brutalist, although I'm pulling for Honora. All right. Now we move on to writing. Best Adapted Screenplay. A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing.
Oh, that's so tough.
It's
a hard one.
Really tough, but I got to bring this up. This is the first one I'm going to say this. Where the fuck is Dune? Where the fuck is the screenplay for Dune 2? I'm not just saying because I think Dune is like the best film I've seen in the last 10 years. The script for Dune 2 is amazing as an adapted work. It's amazing. You put Emilia Perez on this list and not Dune 2? Are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, that being said, no problems with God, dude, I cannot believe how much I loved Conclave.
Oh, it was great.
I was glued to the screen every second of that movie. The Nickel Boy, Sing Sing, all great. I think A Complete Unknown will win. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just saying from what, remember, that's not who I'm saying should win. I can't say that because I haven't seen it yet. But from everything I'm hearing, I think A Complete Unknown may surprise and shock the world and win there. I think out of this list, I think Conclave should get it out of this list. Rob, out of this list, who's going to, who should? Do you see any snubs on here?
I really liked A Complete Unknown, but a lot of it is musically driven. You know, it's not like it has this. It's a really, really good movie, but I don't know about screenplay. I think Conclave had a great script, but you know what? I think that I haven't seen Nickel Boys.
It's my pick.
It's surprisingly good.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, from what I've heard, I think that could take it too.
All right.
So you've seen it.
Nickel Boys is my choice for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into now some of what a lot of the average fans consider the big major ones. Although, the screenplay is one of the major awards, but now we get into the ones that people pay most attention to. Best Directing. And again, I said it would happen. I said the other day it would happen, and it has happened. Best Directing. Sean Baker for Nora. Bradley Cobat for The Brutalist. James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez. And Coralie Farragut for The Substance. I'm sorry. Deadline must have a typo because I do not see Denis Villeneuve's name on here. I have not been, and I said it looked like, Jonathan, you call it recency bias, and I think you're completely correct. I have not been this outraged by a snub from the Best Director thing since Ben Affleck, who won Best Director at the DGAs.
Yeah.
who whose movie Argo won Best Picture, and he didn't get nominated, even though he won at the Director Guild Awards, he didn't get nominated. I have not been this perplexed. What's the word? Verklempt? I'm verklempt over the fact Denis Villeneuve did not get a nomination over the directors of Emilia Perez? What the? Josh Brolin put out a comment today. Said, I guess I'm quitting acting because what are we doing here? With Denis, talking about Denis Villeneuve not getting nominated. Said, I guess I'm quitting acting because what are we doing? I'm not sitting here saying Dune Part 2 should get every nomination for everything. I've only said this for 2 categories. That's it. Just 2. But I am stunned. Anyway, Bradley Corbett's going to win Best Director, I think. Out of this list, I think Sean Baker for Nora should.
I agree.
Again, the direction of like, again, I always say, Rob, that the number one responsibility of the director is to elicit and get out the best performance possible out of their actors. They have a ton of other responsibilities. To me, that's the number one responsibility. And what he was able to do with this cast is insane and great and amazing. But again, I mean, all due respect to Brady as well for The Brutalist, it's a phenomenal accomplishment. So anyway, Rob, who will win? Who should win?
I think Sean Baker should win, but Brady Corbet
For Brutalist?
is going to win, I think.
I could see Substance being the dark horse in this list.
Plus,
but it's the top 3, and really it's the top 2.
And plus, The Brutalist is like he directed 2 movies.
Yeah.
It's 3.5 hours long.
I know.
All right. Now we move on to Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Monica Barbaro in A Complete Unknown. Ariana Grande in Wicked. Felicity Jones in The Brutalist. Isabella Rossellini in Conclave. And Zoe Saldana in Emilia Perez. I gotta say this.
I already know my pick.
I really liked Isabella Rossellini in Conclave.
She was awesome.
She's great. In the 5 minutes of screen time she
That's
has.
the thing. That's what
She's like
blows me away.
Beatrice Straight Network.
It's a small scene, and it's very underplayed scenes, which it's supposed to be. But
I mean, it is a supporting role by all definition.
Yeah.
And who was it that won for like 4 minutes of screen time in Shakespeare in Love? Was that Judi Dench?
Judi Dench.
Jench.
Yeah. So I mean, she only had a couple of minutes of screen time, so I guess it works, and she is great in it. But anyway, listen, I'll tell you what. I was so shocked, I tell you, of how good Ariana Grande was in Wicked.
My only kickback, it's just that she's not a supporting role. We've covered this, but
I know it is category fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is absolutely 100% category fraud. She is a lead actor in the movie. This is one of the worst offenses of category fraud ever. Listen, this is as bad as Christian Bale being nominated in this category, Best Supporting Actor, for when he was in Fighter. He is clearly the co-lead. He has every single bit of as much screen time as Mark Wahlberg did. He's the guy on the poster. He's all that kind of stuff. But they committed category fraud because he couldn't win, because that was the year of The King's Speech, and no one was beating Colin Firth that year.
Yeah.
So they moved him into Best Supporting. This is category fraud. But that rant aside, I was floored with how good Ariana Grande carried the movie for me. Cynthia Erivo was magnificent too, don't get me wrong. But I was so surprised by Ariana Grande. I admit I didn't believe in her. I'm not an Ariana Grande fan. I'm not. I didn't believe in her. She sold me. And she's not going to win. But I'll be honest with you. If I was voting this year, I would probably vote for her. She engrossed me in that movie. And I loved her in it. And again, I think the one who will win, actually, I think it might be Felicity Jones.
Yep.
She doesn't have the momentum or anything, but I actually think the Academy voters are going to go for Felicity Jones. And I am 100% okay with that if she does. Rob, who will win? Who should win?
I think, well, it's interesting because I've been reading a lot about how Felicity Jones might have gotten a snub because people are saying, well, the Academy hasn't been watching The Brutalist. Well, clearly people were reading the same articles I was because they went back in and they saw that she was there. I think she definitely could carry that. But I also think that Isabella Rossellini has a shot too, because I know it's a small role, but she knocked that out of the park.
She really did. She was incredible. And And she stood out in a movie with Stanley Tucci, Jonathan Lithgow, and the greatest actor in the world who doesn't have an Oscar, Ralph Fiennes. And yet she was able to stand out and shine surrounded by these titans. And that says a lot. All right. With that, let's go on into Best Supporting Actor. Yura Borzov in Anora. He was so... I've never heard of this dude, man. He was so good in this movie.
So good.
Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain. Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown.
Loved him in that movie.
Guy Pearce, who we don't see enough of Guy Pearce in movies anymore.
No, we don't.
I love Guy Pearce.
And, I mean, his role in this is like, I've never seen him perform like a role
he was
like
incredible.
this.
Oh.
Incredible.
And Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice.
Who was also incredible.
Who we've got a little bit of succession going on. We got Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Strong going head to head against each other. You know what? I think Kieran Culkin is going to take it.
I do too.
And listen, I got no issue. You know what? My vote would be Yura. I would vote for him. But a lot of people, I think the Academy will go with Kieran Culkin, and he's so good in this, I don't have an issue. Not who I would vote for, but I have zero issue with him winning.
I do think Guy Pearce has a shot too.
He's so good in this.
So good.
I mean, I can't.
And who doesn't love Guy Pearce? Listen,
the reason I think Guy Pearce is going to get overlooked a little bit is because what's Paul's name? He just played the Riddler.
Dano?
Paul Dano, yeah.
Paul Dano.
Dano.
When I think that we might get a little bit of Paul Dano syndrome here, because Paul Dano gave one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in There Will Be Blood. He was phenomenal in There Will Be Blood.
But who is he up against?
He was in a movie with the greatest actor of all time, giving maybe the best performance of his career with Daniel Day-Lewis. And it just, I think he got overshadowed. I think Paul Dano just straight up got overshadowed.
And he played two roles.
Yeah. And he just got straight up overshadowed. And I have a feeling that may happen here for Guy Pearce. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that he got the nomination. Good on him for getting that nomination. But I think it's going to be Kieran Culkin. I would vote for Yura, though.
That's probably the way it goes. I mean, Edward Norton did become Pete Seeger, though.
He totally did. He was so good.
All right.
Kind of a dick, though.
That's how he was,
I know. But he was great. He was great.
Now we get on to Best Actress in a Leading Role. And the nominations are Cynthia Erivo for Wicked.
All right.
Carla Sofia Gasson in Amelia Perez. Mickey Madison in Honora. Demi Moore in The Substance.
Oh, man.
And Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here. Man, this one is tight. It's a situation. There's only a couple of these categories this year, but this is one of the new ones. And I'm like, I got no qualms with anybody winning. You're not like when they announce who wins, whoever it is, I ain't going to complain. And while I think Amelia Perez does not deserve 13 nominations, it deserves this one.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
That's how I feel.
Carla deserves this nomination.
That's how I feel about The Brutalist. I was not really big on The Brutalist, but the performance were so good.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
So if they announce Carla wins, I'm not going to complain, actually.
No.
Okay, so here's where I think it's going to go. I think who should win. I don't know if they pronounce it Mikey or Mickey, but I'll say Mikey, or I'll say Mickey. Mickey Madison for Nora.
We'll find out.
Again, it's a tight race. It's such a great field. But if they put it in front of me and I had to cast a ballot, I'm going Madison for Nora. She floored me in that.
Yeah.
Man, I know there's going to be a lot of movement for Cynthia Erivo, who again is incredible in Wicked. I think it's going to be Demi Moore. I think Demi Moore actually might take this.
That's what I'm thinking. This film's the dark horse. But I tell you, there could be a Pretty Woman effect for Honora. You know, because
Yeah.
Pretty Woman won Best Actress.
I think Amelia Perez. I think she's going to take it.
Carla?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think Carla's
Well,
gonna take
again,
it.
I have no issue. And Fernanda Torres and I'm Still Here she carried the film. So, I mean,
I haven't seen it. I get that.
and again, if they announced it the Arrivo, I'm like, okay, yep,
Yeah,
I get it.
every one of these. I mean, look, would I like to see Demi Moore win? I love Demi Moore. I've loved Demi Moore remember when she was in the movie Wisdom with Emilio Estevez when they were a couple? There you go. I mean, all the way back, I've always loved her, but I just don't think in the substance she's amazing, but she doesn't have as much to do as a lot of these other actresses in their films in terms of what she's called upon. Although that scene in front of the mirror when she's supposed to go out at night and then decides not to go out, she's looking at herself and can't. That was an incredible piece of acting.
All right. Now we move on to Best Actor in a Leading Role. The nominees are, and what a lineup, Adrian Brody, already an Academy Award winner, for The Brutalist. Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing. Ralph Fiennes in Conclave. And it's a bit of a surprise, Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice. All right. Man, I'll tell you what. This is why. This category is a great example of why I talk about how the Oscar is the single most difficult award to win. Because not only do you have to turn in the performance of a lifetime, you're going to be going up against a bunch of people who have also given the performances of a lifetime. Rafe, Coleman, Timothy, Adrian, any of them could win this.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm going to go. I think Adrian Brody will win. I think Ralph Fiennes should win. Ralph Fiennes, again, I believe I've been saying this for years, ever since Gary Oldman won his Academy Award for playing Winston Churchill. Because before that, I said Gary Oldman was the best actor on the planet, I thought, who didn't have an Oscar. Once he won that, I said, okay, the mantle's been passed to Ralph Fiennes. I don't believe there's any question that he's the best actor in the world who doesn't have an Academy Award. And I think he should win it for Conclave. But I think it's going to go to Adrian Brody, and I've got no qualms with it. My vote would go Ralph Fiennes. Rob, who will win? Who should win?
I think you're right. Again, we're simpatico. Look, I love Ralph Fiennes. I love The English Patient. I love Ralph Fiennes as Lenny Nero and Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days. I want to be him. And then when he became the new M, in the Bond films, I love.
And he's Voldemort.
Hey, he's Voldemort. I love me Ralph Fiennes. I love me some Ralph Fiennes. I loved him in Conclave. I loved Conclave. That was great. But you're right. I mean, Adrian Brody, because Adrian Brody he's in 2 movies. Brutalist.
Essentially.
Brutalist is and Adrian Brody is a phenomenal actor. A phenomenal actor.
This would be his second, right?
This would be his second. Yep. Now, will he kiss whoever is giving him the award this time if he wins? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like that's one of the more.
Remember that cut to the audience and he was just like, her husband was like,
yeah. All right.
Yeah, but he's just that kind of guy.
He
you don't
is.
see him on social media. He's always saying spiritual things. It's like,
All right. And by the way, he was so good as Pat Riley in Winning Time.
Yeah,
oh
man.
my God. Was he?
Heck
He's
yeah.
so good as
And the
Pat
fact
Riley
that
in
he'll
Winning Time.
do a Winning Time and then roll in and go do The Brutalist and get
Yeah.
nominated for a Best Academy Award for Best Actor.
All right. Well, now we move on to the big one. Best Picture. Now, of course, remember now it is the new rule of the Oscars that they do 10 nominees for Best Picture. So a number of these you can immediately discount as not actually getting. They just got the honor of being nominated. But the nominations for Best Picture are Anora. I'm so happy Anora got a Best Picture nomination, man. So Anora gets nominated for Best Picture. The Brutalist nominated for Best Picture. A Complete Unknown. Again, the only film on this list I haven't seen, so I can't really say. Conclave nominated for Best Picture. Thank you. Dune Part 2.
There you go.
At least you got your heads out of your asses and at least gave it the nomination. We know you're not going to give it the win, but at least you gave the Best Picture of the last 10 years a nomination. Emilia Perez does not belong on this list, but you can't have 13 nominations and not be nominated for Best Picture. I'm Still Here. Nickel Boys. The Substance. And Wicked. You know what? I never would have guessed earlier this year, before seeing it, that Wicked would be good enough to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year. It is. It is. And
You know,
no
though,
problem.
but
It won't win, but I'm glad it's
Remember at
nominated.
CinemaCon, though, we saw that preview, but when it just started production and how impressive that was.
It was 2 years ago they showed us that
2
preview
years
for
ago.
it.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you know what? If they're putting this much into this movie, it doesn't surprise me that Wicked is here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when they showed us 2 years ago and last year, these big presentations for Wicked, I said, man, because I don't care about Wicked. I'll be straight with you. I don't care about Wicked. But I said, man, this looks way better than I thought it would. I still wouldn't have guessed it would be a contender for Best Picture. And you know what? It deserves this spot. I don't think it should win, but it deserves the nomination. All right, I think this comes down. Okay, let's throw some ones out right away. I don't think Wicked wins. I don't think The Substance has any chance.
First of all,
winning.
can we just talk about, if you had said to me, I thought The Substance was one of the most fun times I ever had in a movie theater, especially this year.
A lot of
Even-
blood in that movie.
It was a
Most fun, even the eating scenes. I had to sit there with my eyes closed.
I loved it so much. And when it was over, I was sitting in a half empty theater and I literally was hooting and hollering and gave it a big round of applause.
Of course you did.
And people were looking at me like I was out of my mind. If you had asked me then, John, if I thought that The Substance would have a nomination for Best Picture, I would have said, as much as I had fun, there's no way. There's no way that it's ever going to get. So bravo. It's a win for horror. It's a win for Demi. It's a win for female directors. It's a win for somebody. That director's incredible. And she went through film school. She earned every bit of it. So you go.
But we agree,
Substance.
though, that it doesn't really have any chance of winning.
No.
Right? Yeah. It's not gonna win.
No, it doesn't.
Nickel Boys, I don't think has any chance of winning, but well-deserved
Yeah.
nomination. I'm Still Here. I don't think it has any chance of winning, but it's good to be on here. Listen, as much as it hurts my ass to say it, Emilia Perez has a chance to win. Again, does not deserve to be on this list. It's the only film really on this list that I would straight up say doesn't deserve to be on the list, but it is, and it actually has a legitimate shot of
It
winning.
has songs in it that are more memorable than Moana 2.
Or Lion King.
Or the not by much.
But I feel like this is kind of like Crash for me. Although a lot of people like Crash.
I actually do like Crash. but
I did not dislike it.
You just didn't think it
I
deserved
didn't think
Best
James
Picture.
Spader's
Yes.
great in Crash.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Dune Part 2 should win. It won't, but it should. Conclave, major contender to win, I think. Complete Unknown, again, the one I haven't seen, but it looks like it's going to be a contender to win. The Brutalist and Honora,
Yeah.
I think The Brutalist will win Best Picture.
I do too.
I wouldn't vote for it myself for Best Picture, but I think it's going to win Best Picture. The one that should win, to me, obviously, is Dune 2. My second vote for should win would be Conclave. My third vote for what should win would be Honora. But again, I think Brutalist is going to win. I don't have any qualms with that. I don't if it wins. Again, I thought the second half of it became a little weighted. But aside from that, I think it's a brilliant cinematic achievement. So I'm going to say Brutalist wins. Dune 2 should win.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm going really far in advance. Rob, which one's going to win the biggest award, and who do you think should win the biggest
Well,
award?
look, I've been saying I loved Honora. I think Honora should win. It's not going to. The Brutalist is going to win. And not only is The Brutalist going to win, I am literally a member of A24. You know, I get their magazine. When The Brutalist wins Best Picture, A24 is going to become the most insufferable distribution company that has ever existed in Hollywood. The most insufferable. And I say that with love because I'm a member of A24 and
Card carrying member.
literally, it's on my keychain. And boy, I don't think anyone's ever going to get to be another. No one's going to ever have another meeting at A24 because they're going to be so high up in the clouds that people can't even get there. It's going to be.
I will say this, though. Okay, so looking back over it at the Best Picture list, I got to say, Sing Sing didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a film that I'm not going to call it a snub because I think if a movie had no chance of winning, you can't really call it a snub that didn't get up. But I really expected to see Sing Sing on this
It's
list.
a really great film.
Yeah.
And it comes, it's based on a real story, and it is kind of, look, it's a really strong category regardless.
It
Sing
is.
Sing might be too small to win in terms of its story, but you never know.
You know, I'm surprised didn't get any nominations. Challengers. I expected to see Challengers get a couple of nods, and it actually didn't end up getting any. Also, where's Madam Web? Come on, guys.
Wait a minute. Did they make a Madam Web movie?
Yeah, so they what? They're doing Madam
There's a
Web.
callback.
Yeah.
Old school, man.
Old school.
So anyway, guys, the question is for you. The nominations are out. We now know who our contenders are for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Director, all that kind of stuff. What do you think about them? You know, one of the best things, Rob, about the nominations every year is it reminds us of just how many great films came out the year before. Yeah. I don't think this is one of the strongest fields we've had. But again, it is a reminder, man, we had some freaking awesome movies in 2024.
Pretty good year for movies.
Yeah. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about the list? Who were your big snubs? Who were your big surprises? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to now move on to the most important part of our show, of course, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, every January is like a blank slate, 365 pages waiting for you to fill them in. Perhaps it's time to rewrite a chapter that's been holding you back. Life isn't about resolutions that fade. It's about becoming the author of your own life story. And in writing that story, therapy can be your trusted editorial partner, helping you craft meaningful chapters, build resilience, and empower you to live the life that you've always envisioned. Therapy can help you learn positive coping skills, set boundaries, and become your best self. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers fully online therapy, making it affordable and convenient. With over 30,000 licensed therapists specializing in diverse needs, you can find somebody who truly understands your story. You can even switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. You know, I often hear from some of our viewers who talk about having some real struggles and challenges over the last couple of years. Well, listen, we commit ourselves to getting more physically strong and healthy by going to the gym. It's time for us to commit to getting more mentally and emotionally strong by getting involved in therapy. So write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Of course, now Rob has stepped out. Rob is still working on, of course, on True Noir. But we're now going to move over and get to your comments and questions and topics. Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, we got Gator. Do you feel like when Disney makes a Star Wars movie show, their primary focus is the comedy and jokes? The OG trilogy and the prequels have comedy in them, but I wouldn't call them comedies. In the Disney movie shows, I feel like there's 5 jokes a minute.
Did you see Andor?
Yeah.
Andor certainly did.
I think Skeleton Crew had levity because it was a Goonies
Yeah, it's a Goonies kind of thing.
Show.
I also looked as garbage as The Acolyte was, and it was garbage. I don't think The Acolyte suffered from that. I didn't feel like they were dropping a joke every 3 or 4 minutes, or like 5 or 6 jokes every minute. I didn't think they did that in The Acolyte, although, I mean, The Acolyte was terrible.
Ahsoka maybe had quips, but it wasn't like,
Yeah, Ahsoka, again, I don't think Ahsoka was very good, but I didn't feel like they were jamming 5 or 6 jokes every minute.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, I didn't like Obi-Wan. But I didn't feel like they were cramming in 5 or 6 jokes per minute.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett was trying to cram in humor where it didn't belong.
Yeah, that was a little much.
Yeah, they were definitely, that one felt, and again, that wasn't very good. They were trying to cram in humor where it didn't belong. I thought Mandalorian didn't feel like it was being overly silly.
No.
Listen, I got a number of issues and problems with a lot of the Star Wars stuff that's been, but no, I've got to say I disagree. As I think about over the different projects, I don't think that's one of the problems. They got a lot of problems. They got 99 problems, but that ain't one.
The comedy ain't one.
Yeah, the overly comedy isn't one. Again, Book of Boba Fett, yep, that felt inappropriately like tried to overstuff that, but no, I did, especially when you look at the best thing they did, which was Andor. They certainly are not cramming in yucks every 30 seconds on that.
No.
So I would respectfully say I disagree on that one. There's a lot of other problems we could talk about, though. All right, what's next?
LJ says, hey, crew, you mentioned Rat Race yesterday. The 5 to 10 minute scene with John Lovitz starting in the Barbie Museum up until the World War II Veterans Day event is incredible. That was so crazy.
I'll tell you what, man.
I remember seeing that movie in the theaters.
There's not many times that I've laughed harder than that whole John Lovitz.
Yeah. And he burnt his tongue or his mouth, so he couldn't not be.
Oh, I laughed. So that was a great moment, man. That was a truly great moment. All right, what's next?
John Lois could get away with that. Big Lenny says Cumberbatch leaking that he won't be in Doomsday only adds tangibility to my theory. I believe he will be in the dark dimension, a place out of time during Doomsday, and come out to see the new world created by Doom in Secret Wars, making him or a significant character of Secret Wars, because he will be one of the only members who knows what happened. If this is true, you heard it here a year and a half early. Thank y'all for all that you do. I have been enjoying the show for 5 years.
Well, I mean, first of all, to be fair, there's a lot of people who have that theory, right? Or an iteration of it. Many people have that theory. Also, remember, lots of Marvel movies happen where lots of Marvel characters aren't in them. You don't need an excuse about why they aren't in them. They're just elsewhere doing other things. But, I mean, we saw at the end of Doctor Strange 2, him and Clea stepping through that rift. So that is absolutely a possibility. And it's fairly consistent with what happens in Secret Wars, the comic book. So, I mean, at least thematically. So yeah, it's very possible. But I do have to say, you're not the only person with that theory. That's a very, very popular one right now. All right, what's next?
All right. Marvel Judas says in a two-parter, to gauge the temperature of a more average audience member, my dad, an avid moviegoer but not a huge Marvel fan, asked during a Cap 4 trailer, why do a Captain America movie without Captain America? Plus, why is Harrison Ford a Hulk when they already have Mark Ruffalo? Well, have you seen him at barbecues? He has never read a comic, doesn't have Disney Plus, but typically watches all Marvel movies in theaters. Interesting.
The Hulk thing, I don't think is all that confusing to many people. I mean, if Harrison Ford turned into a green Hulk, that could cause some confusion.
Right.
But it's clearly a different thing, and you don't have to know anything about the comic books to say, oh my God, the president is turning into a Hulk too. So that's fine. They'll work that out. Also, you don't have to have seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier to know that Steve Rogers passed the shield on to Sam.
Right.
That happened in Endgame, which almost everybody on the planet watched. So, I don't know about that. I don't know that's going to cause confusion. Listen, I have issue with it for sure. Like, ever since they started the discussions about after Steve leaves, who should be the next Captain America, Bucky or Sam? I'm like, neither Bucky nor Sam. Steve Rogers is Captain America is Steve Rogers. Bucky should stay Winter Soldier. Sam should stay Falcon, and let them be great as those characters. I didn't think either of them should take it. They went in a different direction, and it's not the direction I would have gone, but they did a fairly good job in Falcon and the Winter Soldier showing that transition. And I'm going to go in with some optimism and definitely give it a shot. Again, I still don't think it's something they should do, but I'm going to go in and give it a fair shot because I thought they did a good transition with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. All right, what's next?
Tax says, could we one day get a Max Harry Potter type reboot for Lord of the Rings? Jackson's movies are great, but they deviate from the books enough to justify a text-accurate TV series, Tolkien original story, plus Jackson's more epic feeling, best of both worlds. So like a stretched out kind of...
Here's the problem, and Chris and I have talked about this a lot. There's a lot of walking in the pages of Lord of the Rings. There's also like a lot of meandering in the pages of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And like, I know there was a lot of people upset when the first movie came out. Where's Tom Bombadil? Did you read the books? I mean, Tom Bombadil, I don't know how well the Tom Bombadil stuff would have actually gone over on screen. All that is to say this. I don't know that a series version of Lord of the Rings would be the best idea. I think Peter Jackson really got to the richness of it by boiling it down to the 3 hours, in some cases 3 hours plus. of what we got for each book on the screen. And I just don't know that it lends itself as well as, say, the Harry Potter books lend themselves to telling those stories more fully. So I'm going to guess no, but you never know.
My fear of that is you end up with a what is it? Rings of Power season 1 pacing.
Yeah, that was one of the big problems of season 1.
Yeah.
But only it would be even worse.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Bengals says, hey, John, just wanted to clear up some confusion about the Greta Gerwig situation. Greta made a commitment with Netflix before she signed on to do Barbie, not after. The success she had with Barbie probably gives her the leverage to get the IMAX screens.
But again, that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. So the question I brought up on the show the other day was, why would Greta Gerwig, who basically the world is her oyster right now, having made the #1 box office film of the year with Barbie, like, why would she be trying to convince Netflix to let her put her movie out in theaters? Why sign up with Netflix at all if you have the belief that movies are best experienced in theaters? If you're a director who really values having your work shown on the big screen in movie theaters with audiences, why did you sign up and make a commitment to Netflix in the first place? And I'm not saying that as criticism. I'm just saying I think that is approaching things backwards. Like, don't make a commitment to Netflix and think, well, then I'll fight them later about trying to get whatever movie I create into theaters. That seems like doing a little bit backwards. You start with that. Say, okay, before we make a commitment to each other, I want a commitment that my movie is going to get some kind of theatrical run. So again, it's curious to me why you would do one before the other. That's just my kind of take on it. All right, what's next?
Chip Crisper says, update for Jonathan via Deadline. The Martin Scorsese H.H. Holmes film Devil in the White City has officially cast Leonardo DiCaprio as Holmes.
I do not believe that's true. Unless, like, some news has dropped just in the last hour or so. The last official report I saw was that the talks are continuing.
Continuing, yeah.
With Leonardo DiCaprio. Again, my information might be out of date. But as far as I know at this moment, and I could be uninformed right now, as far as I know, it has not yet officially got Leonardo DiCaprio on board. Again,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen. I just, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't happened yet. But we'll see. All right, what's next?
Aaron Moen says, hey, John and crew, yesterday there was a question about pet peeves in movies. My biggest pet peeve is when a photo of a character is shown and it's just a professional still from a deleted shot in the movie or show or a horrendous Photoshop job.
That happens a lot.
I'll tell you, there have been times where like certain shows will do this or movies where they're like run back the security footage or whatever. And it's literally just footage from the previous episode. Okay, here's a cinematic example. Star Trek 3. They run back the security like on the ship of Spock's death in Wrath of Khan, and is literally just footage taken from Wrath of Khan and with a haze over it as if it was the security footage. And that has always bothered me because I'm like, this security footage really got all these cinematic shots? Interesting. Yeah.
I actually had I made a movie called The Anniversary, which actually you can see here. This is the old review on Screen Rant of my movie The Anniversary. And I'll tell you what, I had to do a thing in The Anniversary where I needed photos of this couple, but old photos, right? And I did what I think most filmmakers should do. I actually just got my actors to give me old childhood photos of themselves.
Mm-hmm. I like when they do that.
I just got, now granted, I did take a couple and photoshopped an old photo of one of my actor and an old photo of my actress and put them together to make it look like they were together in high school. I did, but it was actually based on real pictures of them. Yeah. I don't know why they just don't do that.
I think, they did that recently in, what was the one? Oh my gosh, with Hugh Grant, where they're in the house, and there's a photo of him, and it's like a useful picture of him in his younger days, where he's got the two girls in the house. Can't think of the name all of a sudden, but they did that there. Thought it was pretty well done.
All right, what's next?
Heretic. Anonymous says, "Hey John and crew, have you had a chance to watch St. Denis Medical? Was skeptical at first, but the Santa and the chocolate bar episode has me and my buddies in tears. It's from the creator of The Office. Apparently, I highly recommend it."
I have watched a couple of episodes of St. Denis. My wife really likes it. The first episode that I fully watched, because my wife is Filipino, and they have an episode, I think it's called The Filipino Mafia.
Oh wow!
And because if you watch Joe Coy, you know the biggest stereotype. Filipinos are nurses.
Sure.
Actually, Anne's sister was a nurse. All right. So it's like a huge stereotype. But so in this one episode, it's like one of the characters has to deal with this clique of Filipino nurses. They're basically like the plastics in Mean Girls.
Oh yeah.
Basically, it's really funny. And now being married into a Filipino family, it struck very close to home. So I haven't watched much of it, but the little bit I've seen of it is pretty fun. It is pretty funny. All right, what's next?
Italian Hamiltonian says, "Hey John, I agree. A Young Avengers movie doesn't work in the MCU, but it could in an Elseworld that adapts the animated movie, the next Avengers, where Ultron kills the Avengers and only Hulk and Tony survive. Years later, their kids must take the world back." I could see that as an animated movie, but
as an anime, I don't see audiences being excited about that. You'll get your hardcores in that 5% of the movie going audience that are hardcore to this stuff and would, but you'd be completely alienating 95% of the audience. I don't think there's any path to success for that. To be honest, I'm just giving you my perspective on it. I just don't think I don't think the average movie going audience would care. I don't think they would go out and check it out. I just don't think there's a win in it for them in there. All right, what's next?
Brian, let me scroll down here. Brian O'Connor says, "Someone asked who was the best actor out of Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, and Dave Bautista a while back. I saw The Last Showgirl, and the race is over. Dave by far is best. He will get an Oscar nom sometime in his career. I love when he gets into these roles."
I would take money on that bet that Dave Bautista will get an Oscar nomination. I don't think he will, but he is the best actor in that group, and he's only getting better.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's Timothée Chalamet's age. And he's got he's already how old is Dave Bautista now? I want to say 50. I want to say 56 is how old I'm going to say he is.
You nailed it. 56.
He's 56. Okay.
Just turned Jan 18.
So it's a little late in the game, not for his career, but it's a little late in the game for him to improve to the point that he's a legit Oscar contender. That being said, he has turned himself into a legit actor. Whereas, well, you know what? Dwayne Johnson is underrated because everybody talks about Dwayne Johnson and really critically. And I usually find the people who do, they have not seen Pain and Gain. They have not seen Snitch. They have not seen Faster. They particularly Snitch. They have he's actually had some really good performances. John Cena is somebody who's really found his niche with comedy.
But I'd say he's really showed range in the first season of
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
When
he's showing his pain and from his childhood and everything.
Yeah, he has improved. He's become a legit actor. But I still think Dave Bautista has shown not only the most progress, but the most potential. And so, yeah, I agree. He's the best one, but I don't think he's going to get any Oscar nomination.
My problem was he was great in that film, but The Last Showgirl, but it was one note.
Yeah.
So,
all right, what's next?
Italian Hamiltonian says, "Hey, John, I'm sure you are fed up with anime recommendations, but I wouldn't send in a message if I didn't think you would fall in love with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I recommend it to everyone as just a show to watch and have never had someone not love it." Where would you even watch it though?
I'm not interested. Listen, I'm not taking away anything from the recommendation or that you love it. Not taking anything away. It's just not for me. It's not my cup of tea. I mean, it's definitely got an audience, and that's awesome. But I've got too much other stuff that I really do want to watch that I need to spend my time watching, and not something that I'm actually not all that interested in. All right, what's next?
Got a two-parter from Cam. I share the beliefs, the same beliefs as you, John, about Dune Part 2, but I'm done. I have had it with this narrative that it didn't come out Late in the year. Everything Everywhere released in April, and Dune Part 2 released in March. No Denis for director nomination. Dune Part 2 didn't even get half of the technical nominations. I understand film is subjective. Amongst critics, films, casuals, Dune Part 2 is objectively one of the best films of the year. Sorry for the rant.
Well, first of all, you can't ever use the word objectively when you're talking about the quality of art. There's just none. You can't do that. That's a heresy. You can't point to, like, there's a mistake often made in debate, right? Called the exception fallacy, where it's like out of 100 examples, you find one and then base an argument on that. That's an exception fallacy. Like, again, this is the way I like to kind of illustrate this. A basketball player is coming down the court and gets to half court, so he's still half the distance of the court away, and decides to heave up a shot from half court. That's a mistake. Unless the clock's running out, that's a mistake. You shouldn't do that. And statistically, the statistics show that that is a very, very low chance of success. An exception fallacy is to go, well, I saw a game last year where a guy heaved up a 3-point from center court and it went in. Therefore, it's a totally valid thing. No. Yes, a half-court short shot may go in once in a blue moon. But statistically, it's been shown more consistently that your odds of hitting a half-court shot are extremely low. Extremely low. Yes, last year we had Everything Everywhere All at Once, which really stunned the movie world, I think. And I think it stunned a lot of people in the Academy, and the originality of it and the differenceness of it and all that kind of stuff made it stick around. But it was an exception. It's rare. It's rare. Not never happens, not impossible, but statistically it is rare that a film released early in the year, particularly a sequel, has enough staying power that it sticks around once Oscar season comes around. There is nobody that doubts that if Dune 2 had come out in Oscar season in 2023, which is when it was supposed to come out, that it would have swept up a lot of Oscars. Everybody acknowledges that and everybody agrees. But the strikes and all that kind of stuff, it pushed it into early of the year, and I really do think it has hurt it a lot. It's hurt it a lot. I mean, it's still getting a Best Picture nomination and everything. That's great. But it's out of sight, out of mind. And I think that's been shown statistically to happen far more often than not. And I really do think it hurt it this year a bit.
There's also, just real briefly, there's also this strange phenomena I've noticed with Dune. And it happened with Dune 1 as well, where people were like, they really liked it when it came out. And then as time went by, they were like, it was okay. It was just fine.
Oh, yeah. No, I never thought Dune 1 was a major contender for Best Picture, but Dune 1 ended up winning what, 5?
Yeah.
Academy Award, 5 or 6. I think it won the most Academy Awards out of any film that year.
But then when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, this was really good.
Oh yeah, I love I don't think it's as good as Dune 2, but I really loved it.
Okay, 3-parter from Amin. I have to say it, I've lost a lot of respect for members of the Academy today. I know it's subjective, but how the hell does Emilia Perez get 13 nominations, just one shy of the all-time record? No way this is about quality over subject matter. I saw the film, and sorry to say, but it's painfully obvious it's being rewarded for its topic rather than how good it actually is.
Let me stop you right there. That's fucking bullshit. The reason it's bullshit is because there's a lot of movies that come out with similar subject matters and they get no awards attention. So just take that excuse and throw it in the garbage because listen, I could point you to like 15 movies that carry similar subject matters just over the last couple of years and they get no awards attention and no Oscar nominations. I agree that subject matter and important themes, it'll put you on the radar. And listen, film is subjective. I don't think Emilia Perez deserves, I mean, it certainly deserves some of the nominations it got. It did. Rob and I talked about a couple of the nominations that we thought, it totally deserves this. But do I think Emilia Perez deserves a Best Picture nomination? No, I do not. But just because I feel that way doesn't mean other people not feeling that way is invalid. Guys, fuck's sakes, we're movie fans. And if you're going to be a movie fan, you have to embrace and celebrate the subjectivity of it. So yes, I will get on my show and I'll go, Emilia Perez doesn't deserve to be there. And I believe that for sure, but I in no way am trying to discredit somebody else who felt differently. And that's one of the biggest immature things about us as a fan base. And I'll loop myself into this as well. I include myself in this. I admit it. I put my hand up. I'm one of them. But one of the immaturity things of us as film fans is somebody didn't see it the way I saw it, therefore discredit or something like that, right? I don't believe Emilia Perez deserved Best Picture nomination, but I'm not calling into question the people who saw it differently and thought it did. But anyway, please continue. Read on the rest of the thing.
Plenty of others didn't think it was among the year's best. Even critics who liked it did not love it. Yet here we are. But remember, critics aren't voting on it. And Dune only getting 5 nominations. We knew it wouldn't get director, but not even best adapted. What's the point if they aren't actually nominating the best films? Recency bias exists and surprises happen, but this year feels different.
Yeah, I think recency bias exists, but bring it up again just for a second. That last part 3, where he said, what's the point if they're not actually going to nominate the best films? The best films according to who?
Right.
Because essentially, I know you're not meaning this, Amin, but essentially what you just said is they're not nominating the films I think should have got nominated. Again, I believe Dune 2 should have got nominated for a thing. Yeah, but they didn't. Okay, I'll pout about it for a minute and then go, well, and don't forget, you know who the people are that came up with the nominees? The writers' branch. The writers are the ones who put forward the nominees for screenplay. It's actually all professional Hollywood writers that put up the nominees. So I disagree with them with Dune 2 not getting it, but it's what they did. So that's how they saw it. That's how the writers saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And while I disagree, I can still go, well, I hate the fact that Dune 2 didn't get nominated. I think it totally should have, but I can still respect the fact that they saw it differently, and I don't have to make up excuses for why they didn't see it the way I did. And we as film fans got to be careful when we say, because I'll say this sometimes too, but most of the time I say with the understanding that all film is subjective. But when we say, well, you didn't nominate the best films, you mean according to you, and you think you're the barometer. You're the standard setter. That's how we as film fans do it, right? Again, I raise my hand too. I'm guilty of this as well. But we just got to be kind of careful about that. So do I think Dune 2 got snubbed in a number of things? Absolutely, I do. 100%. Do I think there was anything else going on other than the fact that the individual branches of the Academy that put forward the nominees just simply voted the way they believed was the best? No, I do not. I do not believe there was anything else involved in that. Do I think recency bias affected it? Sure, I do. I think it affected them, but I don't think anybody made any conscious choices. I think everybody who voted on it were simply like, I think this was the best, or I think these 5 are the best, so I want to put these 5 as nominees. It's just something we as film fans have to just accept. Anyway, all right, what's next?
We got a 2-parter from Pacific McRim who says, hello, Campea crew. I know you guys have said in the past, snub is an overused word when it comes to the Oscars, but who didn't think Denis would be one of the 5 best directors this year? I honestly don't think it'll win Best Picture either.
It won't.
Maybe Conclave, Wicked are better choices. I don't know. I didn't see them yet, but it's one of the more mind-boggling things that I've ever seen. It has to be because of the March release, but oh well, shows how difficult it is to win, as you've stated before.
Again, I 100% believe that Denis Villeneuve should have been nominated for Best Director. I think he should have won. But this one, I brought up the Ben Affleck situation. This isn't even anywhere near as outrageous as the Ben Affleck situation. Ben Affleck literally won Best Director of the Year at the Directors Guild of America Awards. He literally won Best Director of the Year at the DGAs. By the way, he also won Best Director of the Year at the Golden Globes, not that that matters as much, and a number of other awards ceremonies. And his film, Argo, won Best Picture at the Oscars, and yet I almost said Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And yet Ben Affleck didn't get nominated. Not even nominated for Best Director, despite the fact that he won Best Director at the DGAs and his movie won Best Picture at the Oscars, and he didn't even get a nomination.
Yeah.
And so as bad as I feel like that, like what is going on that Denis Villeneuve did not get a nomination for this, it isn't the worst situation I've ever seen. The Ben Affleck one was even worse, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
Paul Star Guy, Dune Part 2 received 5 Oscar noms today. Dune Part 1 received 10 and won 6. Let the outrage begin. I think they front loaded. I feel like it was a situation like inverse of Lord of the Rings. They front loaded Dune Part 1. Dune Part 2 came around, and they probably had this feeling of like, well, we've seen this.
Man. All right, what's next?
We've got, hey, it's Enrico Palazzo. Hey, John and crew, do you think we will ever get a smaller scale Avengers movie again? The first Avengers had 6 and Age of Ultron had 8. I think he means by 8 Avengers in him. It seems since Infinity War, the objective is to squeeze in as many characters as possible. Hi to Rob if he's still there.
And obviously he's not.
Yeah.
First of all, Avengers did not have 6 characters. They had a lot of characters.
I think he means like the
I know,
actual team,
yeah.
but yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. What matters is like the movie itself was still a massive, huge scale.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's fine. You can put in 40, 50 characters as long as your story accommodates that. Then it's perfectly fine. I don't think you do an Avengers movie now with 4 people. You can just call that Falcon and the Winter Soldier or something like that, right? So I think the Avengers films are going to be those end of the cinematic phases, big build up sort of things. And yeah, I mean, they're not always going to have 40 or 50 characters, but yeah, I think we're always going to have more than 4 or 5 or 6 characters in them.
And to be fair, I mean, honestly, although it was the largest to date, Endgame actually was a smaller team until the snap. And they brought everyone back.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. Yep.
all right.
All right. What's next?
Karsh, my favorite, the Social Network quote. You're going to go through life thinking that you got snubbed because of recency bias. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that won't be true. That was that scene where they were in the bar, right? I mean, obviously the dialogue is different. It'll be because Dune 2 sucks. Viva subjectivity.
Hey,
well, there's
listen,
subjectivity right there.
Again, to me, Dune 2 is not just the best movie of the year, it's the best movie of the last 10 years. Like, I just think it is a filmmaking masterpiece. But not everybody's going to agree. Not everybody's going to have the same experience that I do. So if you're somebody who watched Dune 2 and you didn't like it, I may think you're crazy and everything, but that's the subjectivity of film. It hit you in a different way than it hit me, and there's nothing wrong with that. Although it is the best film of the year. All right, what's next?
All right, Tom says, pleasantly surprised by the acting noms for the Apprentice. Didn't think the Academy would go for it. Personally, would have wanted to see a score nom for Challengers and screenplay for Juror Number 2.
Yes, Juror Number 2, I think, had a shot for screenplay. And like I said, I was actually a little bit surprised that we didn't see any nomination for Challengers.
Yeah. For as much hype as it got.
Yeah, I don't think it should have gotten a Best Picture nomination or anything like that, but I thought there were a couple of performances, particularly a couple of the technical awards, I thought it could have snuck in there for. I'm not outraged at all that it didn't get any. I'm just a little bit surprised that it didn't get any attention. All right, what's next?
I love this name. Count Orlok's porn star. Oh, man. This makes me want to read it in an Orlok voice, but I will not. A few Oscar notes. I guess they really like Emilia Perez with a leading 13 noms. WB's early 2024 release of Dune 2 really killed its Oscar aspirations. Challenger's score was snubbed. And Diane Warren gets yet another nom for Best Song. She is inevitable.
Yeah, you guys know I don't really care much about the best song.
I know. I don't really care for it either.
And it's such a small part of a movie that...
It's literally the exit music. If we're being honest, it's the exit music played
most
in
of the time. Sometimes it's a song that's literally right in the middle of a
that's
movie
the case,
and
it's
plays
one
a
thing.
part of
Yeah.
the movie. But even then, it's literally that song played a 3-minute part in a movie. So I don't really care about it so much. But hey, you know what? They are fun moments at the awards themselves, though, when they do it. So, you know, one of my favorite Oscar moments, not my favorite, but up there, was Annie Lennox singing Into the West, at which she won the
it's
Academy
beautiful.
Award that year for Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Song gives me chills.
Yeah, and when she sang it there on stage, gave me chills, loved hearing it. It was great. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous who says, "Hi, John and crew. What do you think of the article from the Hollywood Reporter that claims the budget for Cat 4 is 180 million, around 180 million, since in the past reports claimed it was at least 300?
Okay, well, first of all, the actual budget for the movie we're going to see on screen of Captain America, Brave New World, anybody who tells you that was in the 300 million range, smack them in the mouth verbally.
Don't actually assault anyone.
Piss on their feet and never listen to a word they say again.
And that's metaphorically too.
Now. No, literally, piss on your feet. Yank it out, piss on their feet right there on the spot. Now, that being said, much like the budget for Superman Returns seemed extraordinarily high, it was because a lot of the money that went into trying to develop previous iterations, the project evolved into Superman Returns, and that money got attached to the budget of that film. Remember, Captain America Brave New World went through extensive reshoots. Like Kevin Feige decided once he got his authority back, decided he wanted to change substantially a big substantive part of that movie. So I would not be surprised, and I'm not claiming knowledge here, I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised to find out that the actual working budget of the movie we're going to see was 180 million. But that when you loop in and fold in all the expenses of the previous iteration of the film into what the film ultimately is going to be, I would also not be surprised to find out that ended up costing Marvel maybe around 300 million. Again, I'm not claiming any knowledge on this. I'm simply saying I would not be surprised if that's the scenario that it turned out being. All right, what's next?
Seconds from Disaster
By
says,
the way, and Eugene Johnson, the live chat, saying after a bad test screening, don't believe, and please don't perpetuate that fake bullshit stuff. There was no bad test screening.
it literally comes out every Marvel movie. They say
well, it's not just every Marvel movie. These bullshit stories that get floated on Reddit. I'm an anonymous Redditor and I was at the screening. Just don't believe them. Don't believe that shit. All right, what's next?
Seconds from Disaster. After listening to last night's open mic, which by the way, 2.5 hours. Wow. I was left with two questions. If the new DCU movies never catch traction and continue to flop, how much longer do you think James Gunn stays on for? And do you think they try again or sell DC?
Well, you could bring that up with anything. If this endeavor fails badly for like 3 years, will the head of that endeavor stay much longer? Unless your name is Kathleen Kennedy, the answer is no. So yeah, like if Superman flops with the audience and with the critics, and then Supergirl falls on its face with the audience and the critics, and Batman Brave and the Bold flops with audience and critics. Yeah, if all that happens, you come out 0 for 3, 0 for 4. Oh, James Gunn ain't going to be around long. Like the first movie, no problem. First movie's the first movie. Maybe they win, maybe they lose. There's some pretty bad repercussions if they lose, but they're not going to change direction and change course if they throw up an airball on one. But they get 3 full projects in, 4 full projects in, and everything's terrible. Yeah, then they'll look at pulling the plug on that whole experiment. And then maybe even they look at selling off the property. Maybe they do. All right, but I don't think it's going to get to that, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
Okay, Matan says, the more I'm exposed to Amelia Perez, I don't know if it's a fake film from 30 Rock or a fake film from Entourage. Well, that's a throwback, those Entourage movies.
That's actually a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think Amelia Perez is a terrible film. Not at all. But it's not a good film. And it certainly doesn't deserve these nominations. I mean, there are a couple that they do, 100%. But it doesn't deserve 13 nominations, and it certainly doesn't deserve to be nominated for Best Picture. So I don't know what the hell some people are smoking. But again, it's all subjective. They saw it that way. It's just really confusing to me that they saw it that way. All right, what's next?
Tyler says, hi, John. Love the show. I read the movie blog in college.
Wow. That's how I got started, man, was the movie blog.
Been along for the ride ever since. Thanks to you and the crew for always cranking out quality. Can you explain how a film succeeds on streaming? How does high viewership equate to dollars?
It doesn't.
No. Subscriptions, if you can tie it to that.
Yeah, now, and that's why a lot of very, very popular shows on streaming get canceled, because people watching them doesn't make the streamer any money. What makes them money is a show that brings in new subscribers. And traditionally, what has happened with a streamer like Netflix is you can have a show that like has huge amount of people watching it, but it's all people who are already subscribed to the channel. Well, then that show isn't making the channel any money. That show isn't making the streamer any money. So that's why you see a lot of times that Netflix historically has canceled very popular shows after 1, 2, or 3 seasons. What Netflix and other streamers are trying to do now, and it's a good idea, is pivot away from subscription, like relying on subscriptions, and introducing ad tiers. You know the ones where, hey, you can just pay us $7 a month and agree to watch commercials. Because with commercials, then higher viewing numbers do equate to some extra revenue, because the more people that watch it who are on the ad tier will actually generate more money for the streaming service. That is why you're seeing Netflix really trying hard to push people and corral people into the ad-based program. But I want you guys to see where this has led us to. It used to be that the whole appeal of the streaming service was that we pay a fee per month and we don't watch commercials like we do on cable television. We didn't mind commercials on cable television because, other than having to pay for a cable, the service to come into our house because it needed physical wiring and all that kind of stuff, we got to watch it. We didn't have to pay to watch a show or anything like that. But
Right.
Now you see what Netflix is doing? You see what the other streamers are doing too? They have now figured out a way to get us sheep to do both. We will pay you a monthly subscription and you can show us all the commercials you want. They've effed us. And they've done it. You know the whole thing. If you try to drop a frog into a pot of boiling water, it'll scurry to pop out. But if you put a frog in water and then slowly warm up the water to the point it boils, then you got the frog. You killed the frog, right? That is what these streaming services have been doing to us. They've just come on in the water, pay us $9 a month, $4 a month, $6 a month. No commercials, you watch all these shows. And what have they done? They've slowly started to turn up the heat. What was $5 was then $7. What was $7 then was $9. What was $9 was then $11. Then $11 was $15. Then $15 was $19.99 a month. And now one tier on Netflix, you got to pay like $25 a month. Oh, and we want you to pay and show you commercials. And now you can say to me, but John, the commercial ones is the cheapest of the tiers. You're only paying like, what is it? $9 a month, $7 a month, whatever it is. You're paying the cheapest of the tiers. Oh yeah, that's fine. But do you think, are you so stupid? Are we so dumb that we think that's going to stop Netflix from keep turning the heat up? Guess what's going to happen? In a year or so, announcement's going to come out that Netflix today announces that the ad-supported tiers monthly subscription price is going up. Pretty soon, that Netflix tier where you have to watch ads is going to go from $8 a month to $10 a month, and then from 10 to 12 and from 12 to 15. And pretty soon, you're going to be paying the exact same amount for Netflix on the ad tier that you used to pay not long ago without any ads. And it's the way they're all going now. It's becoming cable television all over again, only worse. We are paying more money today than we ever have before for our television entertainment. And they're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep turning up the heat. And at some point, they're going to hit a breaking point, but they know they're not anywhere near the breaking point yet. So they're just going to keep turning up the heat. Anyway, Patrick is saying, I'll just go back to reading books. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Ronetta says, hi, everyone. I agree. Oh, no, sorry. Vixter says, I got 81% of the Oscar nomination predictions correct today. Feeling pretty proud of that. Thrilled for Sebastian Stan and Fernanda Torres. Still gutted for Villeneuve.
Yeah, I'm gutted for Denis as well. I really am. Again, I'm not surprised if you guys have heard me talk about it the last couple of weeks. I'm not surprised he didn't get it, but he should have got it. And I mean, really, there wasn't a ton of surprises. Right? I mean, I think Sing Sing not getting a Best Picture nomination might be one of them. Not a ton of surprises, but definitely some snubs. All right, what's next?
Ronetta says, hi, everyone. I agree with most of the nominations, but again, nothing for Denis Villeneuve. Again, what the hell does this man have to do to get recognized? Recency bias is a bitch. What a disgrace.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what that guy just got to do. But remember, for a long time, it was the same with Christopher Nolan, right? It was the same thing for a long time until he finally broke through with Oppenheimer. But I mean, listen, Denis Villeneuve is one of the best directors in the world today. Some people will argue he is the best director in the world today. That's debatable. At some point, he's going to get an Oscar on his shelf. It's going to happen. Maybe even 2 or 3, but obviously this isn't the year. Mm-hmm. All right, what's next?
Calvin Severo with a $20 tip says,
thank you, Calvin.
Says, John, I'm so happy for Fernanda Torres and our magnificent I'm Still Here. I'm so proud of my country, Brazil. People literally went on the street to honk the cars like in the World Cup. Huh. Such a beautiful, real story about the military dictatorship here.
Well, I guess she totally carried the film. And again, I haven't seen if anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be totally wrong about this, right? But it feels like this is the first time that 2 films in the Best Foreign Film category both got nominated for Best Picture with I'm Still Here and Emilia Perez. I don't know that has ever happened before. I mean, maybe it has, but I don't remember it ever happening before. Like most years, well, some years, no films in the Best Foreign Film category get nominated for Best Picture, but whenever they do, it's usually one film, which makes the Best Foreign Film category the most anticlimactic announcement ever. Like, if you get the 5 nominees for Best Foreign Film and one of them is also nominated for Best Picture,
right?
Well, gosh, I wonder which one is going to win Best Foreign Language Film, right? It takes all of it away, but yeah. So but good for them. Good for them for getting that, and yeah, I don't think it's going to win, but good for them for getting the nomination. All right, what's next?
William Benjamin says, what if Ultraman is actually Apollo in disguise? We already have a member of the Authority in the movie.
Yeah, I doubt it. I don't think that's where they're going to go.
Yeah.
I don't think that's where they're going to go. If they were, there's no reason to, like, nobody watching the movie knows who that is. So why put the mask on to keep it a secret, right? Because nobody knows who it is anyway. So I don't think that's what they're going to do. I mean, it's not impossible, but I doubt it. All right, what's next?
With a $20 tip, Classy Potato.
Thank you, Classy Potato, for supporting us on that level.
Hey, John and Krill's wondering if you've seen Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It's amazing. Definitely brings the filthy. Has an amazing story. If you like Blue-Eyed Samurai and Arcane, I think you should give this a shot. Would like to hear what you think.
Never even heard of it.
Me either.
I have no idea. If it's just like some promo thing made for the video game, yeah, I've never heard of it. As far as I know, it's not a real thing. But is it a YouTube thing or something like that? Again, I've never heard of it. No idea what it is. No idea where it is. All right, what's next?
Sam says, but for Ocean's 14 also needs to replace Carl Reiner and Bernie Mac. I don't know if you replace them, but you
don't
just
replace
get someone
them.
else.
You just mentioned that they've gone.
Yeah. Who do you get for that? I think that's where you slot in Bullock and Blanchett, or maybe the movie is Ocean Crew v. Ocean Crew. I kind of feel like Bullock is going to be in the movie.
Yeah, listen, I don't care what anybody says. I thought that was a nice little movie.
Yeah.
I thought that Sandra Bullock Ocean's movie, what was it called? I can't remember the name of the movie now. You know, Anne Hathaway was great in it too. So, I mean, I would personally have no issue at all.
Wasn't it? No.
Ocean's 8.
8, yeah.
I would have no issue at all. Thank you, David D. was the first one to put that in there. I would have no issue at all if they brought over some of the cast from that movie, particularly Bullock, Blanchett, and Anne Hathaway. So I think it would be great for them to do that. I don't know that they will, but I think it would be perfectly good if they did, and I would like it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, can you give us a depiction of the stuff you've seen for Michael? I heard this is going to be the biggest movie of 25, and I've seen Universal will be a part of it too with Lionsgate. So if Lionsgate got this multi-billion-dollar film, is there another part to this?
I mean, no, the movie that's going to be the biggest box office movie of the year is Avatar. That's going to be the biggest box office film of the year. But Michael, I have no doubt that's going to be $1 billion film. No doubt. Unless we see it and it's terrible, well, then it won't get enough repeat viewing or word of mouth to get it to $1 billion. Yeah. But I mean, if it's as good as it looks, yeah, they showed us a preview for it at CinemaCon back in April. And I was kind of floored by what we saw. It looked really good. And it was really a sizzle. It's hard to describe what we saw. It was a lot of flash and images and stuff like that. But man, this kid, Michael Jackson's nephew, that they've got to play Michael in this. Woo! Listen, looking like the person is not the most important thing in a biography. But wow, did he look and move and sound like Michael? It was kind of off-putting. And like, yeah, man, this movie is almost a guaranteed $1 billion film. Not the biggest of the year. It's not going to make more than Avatar, but it's going to be huge, man. All right, what's next?
All right, maybe you can answer this one, though. Bradford says, Rob, what did you think of the Lower Decks finale implying Star Trek Discovery is alternate universe and therefore not canon?
I don't watch it. Yeah.
Fortunately.
It's not for me. I tried the first episode or two of it. Wasn't really for me, so I didn't really watch it.
Anonymous says, also, do you think we get a Super Bowl teaser of Michael? I think it will be one of the most viewed trailers of all time because it's Michael Jackson. It will do more views than Superman. I don't know if it will, but maybe.
When does Michael come out? Oh, let me check this. Michael release date. October 3rd. So
that's a long ways off from February.
It's 9 months off, which is too far out for a trailer. But the exception I make for that is Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Jackson did a Super Bowl halftime show once, did he not?
Maybe.
I think, guys in the live chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Michael Jackson did do a Super Bowl halftime show once. So 9 months out is too early for a trailer, unless it's at Super Bowl. You know what? I didn't even think about it. And guys in the live chat are saying, yes, it was. In 91, he did the halftime show at Super Bowl. I would not be surprised at all if Michael got a Super Bowl spot. Wouldn't doubt it at all. I don't think it'll be the highest viewed trailer of all time, but it could be higher viewed than Superman, especially with the fact that it's going to get viewed by so many people at the Super Bowl. So yeah, I think it's got a chance to do that. Absolutely. All right. What's next?
Anonymous says, I was hoping the Academy would have recognized Look Back for Best Animated Film. It was a really great, heart-wrenching coming-of-age story you can watch on Prime. Was it theatrically released?
But what do you replace with that? See, that's the one thing. That's always the hard part. The easy part of the conversation is saying what should have got nominated. The hard part of the conversation is, well, what do you bump? What do you push out to make room for it? I don't know that I push Inside Out 2 out. I don't know that I push Wallace and Gromit out. I don't think I know I don't push Flow out. I know I don't push Wild Robot out. Again, it's just a matter of that's the hard part. Which movie do you bump to make room for it? And that always makes the conversation a little bit more tricky, right? Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, Anonymous says, did you see Kino Films is to distribute Michael biopic in Japan? It's like everybody wants to have a part of this movie. The fact nobody really knows about this movie yet, just waiting until something drops, it's going to be global.
Yeah, listen, that one of the things you just point out is something I was talking to a friend of mine about. It's like, it's crazy to me how many people I still run into that don't know this Michael movie is coming.
Yeah.
Like they're doing a Michael Jackson movie, like because we travel in our little circles, like the circles of people who watch a show like this or make shows like this. Yeah, everybody in our circles knows about it, but it is surprising to me how many people still know this movie's coming. I think when they drop the first trailer, I think you're going to hear a lot of people going, I didn't even know they were making this movie. It's going to make a huge impact for sure. All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave said, did they change the category from Best Foreign Language Film to Best International Feature because of the controversy a few years ago? I think it was 2019 or 2020. The Nigerian movie Lionheart was disqualified because they had a bit of English in it.
They changed it because of a number of situations like that. That had been a kind of a point of contention for a couple of years, that sort of issue came up. And so I can't remember how long ago they did it, but that's why they ultimately made that move. That is just one of the examples of why they did. And I think it was a good move. Like foreign language film, okay, but there are foreign countries that have English as a language. So it doesn't qualify because of the language they spoke, even though it was totally done by a foreign body. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a move they needed to make, and it's a good move that they did. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, just saw the new Wallace and Gromit movie. That theme tune never fails to make me smile.
Oh, it's because it's both delightful and nostalgic all at the same time, isn't it? All right, what's next?
Colin says, just finished A Real Pain, and I think category fraud applies to Kieran Culkin too. Man is equally in the poster and equally throughout the movie. Literally, he's the representation of the title, The Real Pain of the picture.
I don't think it's as egregious as the Ariana Grande one is. I mean, that the movie is about Elphaba and Galinda. That's who it's about. So I don't think it's as egregious, but I think you have an argument to make. I think there's an argument to be made that he should be in the best lead category. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's as egregious, but I think you're right, though. All right, what's next?
Future Man says, those costume designs for Dune 2 were out of this world. The other nominees were nominated because they were normal-looking clothes for that time period the movie was in. What imagination. Another snub from the Oscars for Dune Part 2.
You're missing the point of what best costume design is, though, to be fair. Again, I would have loved to seen Dune 2 take that thing, but it's not about best costume design. An argument can be made. And again, I highly encourage you to watch the show on our channel, Designing Hollywood. But it is often a more challenging job to design costumes that are specific to a period, because if you're designing stuff for the world of Dune and Arrakis, it can look like anything, right? It is whatever you say it is. I'm not saying it's not difficult and it's not challenging and it doesn't take incredibly creative work to do it. Of course it does. But you're designing the look and the feel of an entire character and of a culture and all that kind of stuff that does come from a recognized period of time. Then it's a lot more tricky, because it can't just be whatever you want it to be, which you can do in a Hunger Games, or you can do in a Dune, or you can do in a Star Wars film. You can say it can make it look like anything you want. It doesn't matter. But to actually make it fit and have the costumes become something that immerse you into that time period. Dude, a lot of designers will tell you that is the harder task to undertake. And so, yeah, I think it's a totally valid thing. All right. What's next?
We got
how many more do we have left anyway?
Let me count.
Because we're out of time.
Let's do this. I'll count.
Okay.
Mr. John, would your set have survived the show today if Dune Part 2 wasn't nominated for Best Picture? Also, the Madam Web writers will be at the Oscars. They will be showing people to their seats, fetching drinks. They're going to be seat fillers.
I mean, I would have been upset.
Oh, we only have two more.
I would have been upset had it not been nominated for Best Picture, but I kind of thought it was a 50-50. Maybe like a 60-40, 60% chance that it would get nominated because there are 10 nominees. But I mean, we've just been able to read the tea leaves, right? Like Dune has not been getting the attention this award season. So I would have been I don't know that I would have been any more upset if it didn't get nominated than I was with Denis Villeneuve not getting nominated for Best Director. Like, would I take issue with it? Absolutely. But I was kind of half expecting that maybe it wouldn't get nominated. So I wouldn't have overacted that much. So anyway, yeah, just that.
Mr. I follows up, as to someone's question yesterday about the songs written for movies that come to mind. Here's two that instantly come to mind for me. Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone and Survivor Eye of the Tiger, of course, from Rocky 3.
Now, I don't know. Was Danger Zone written specifically for Top Gun?
Yeah, I don't know if they just used that song or if it was written
I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm asking. I just don't know if it was.
I mean, when the video was released, it used Top Gun footage.
Yeah. That's true. You know what? There's another song I think that gets overlooked from Top Gun.
I just dated myself, but
that Kenny Loggins also did. Playing with the Boys. The song that they play when they're doing the volleyball scene.
Yeah.
Playing with That's actually a really good one too.
And then of course he's famous for Footloose.
Yep, but Danger Zone, man.
Yeah.
Danger Zone. All right, what's next?
Didn't they use a little bit of Danger Zone in Maverick? Feel like
I can't remember.
maybe not.
I know they refer to it in Archer all the time. Danger Zone. All right.
Chino, this is our final one. Not
All
a
right.
question, but I have to let you know every time you say bye-bye, my brain always adds the gur. Someone else just said this
Somebody
too.
just wrote that in yesterday.
Bob Iger, gur.
Yeah, bye-bye.
I don't know why I'm like this, but now you can't unhear it and have to suffer. Oh, we've heard it. Trust me, we've heard it.
Yeah, hear it all the time. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. I want to thank, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Of course, he'll be back again next week. I want to thank Jonathan Voico.
All right, guys, see you later.
And that'll do it for us, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.